Okay. For people who don't know what I'm about to talk about, let me go ahead and show you. So there's Pettersson behind the net. Now Pettersson just beat Matheson pretty good. So Matheson, if you can't beat him on the ice, I'll show it again. See, look at that. He goes right around him, makes him fall over and everything. Now, Matheson is to have a hearing, and we'll see. We'll see what comes of it. If he's going to have a hearing, it could be a long suspension. Now, there was no penalty on the play, bafflingly, and Pettersson is out. We don't know exactly how long, but he certainly looked concussed. He tried to stand up and go to the bench, and he kind of fell over. How mad was I? I was very concerned for Pettersson. I was watching the Canucks season potentially go down the drain because of one guy. Now, Matheson isn't a guy that I'm aware has any suspension history. And I've watched a lot of Florida games, and this doesn't seem like it's in character for him. It seems kind of like an out of character overreaction, and it's reactionary. And there are those who are going to say it's just a good hockey play. The initial hit, you might be able to argue that, but the slam to the ice, probably not. And the problem is, the optics is this: if you didn't concuss him in the hit against the boards, you definitely concussed him when you threw him to the ice. So the intent is there to injure, and whether it's just frustration, maybe he is just mad that he's an NHL level defenseman, and he knows that Pettersson put a move on against him that's going to end up on the highlight reel. It's what Pettersson does. Elias Pettersson is better than I had expected. My top end for him was that he'd be like a Henrik or Daniel Sedin, right? No, he's a completely different player. He kind of cycles to himself from himself and gets goals for it. 5 goals in 5 games to start his career is very impressive. And teams are quickly finding out this kid can move. Now, the one thing about Pettersson that is a concern is his slight build. Being 176 pounds and a skinny, he's not like a big muscular, but he's a skinny 176. And I say that because there are times where I'll mention a guy's size or weight, and people are like, well, he's built like a fire hydrant, or he's really big, or he's, Pettersson is slight, and he's still working on his strength and conditioning to bulk up a bit. And maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's, Matheson's like, holy crap, that rookie just made me look like the rookie out here on the ice. I'm going to pay him back for it. I'm thinking with the optics, five games, and again, I'm not overly angry on it because it's just stupid. It's just reactionary, and it's stupid, and it's dangerous, and I'll be interested to see what they do with them. But here's the thing. I hear about, right away, all I'm hearing is the Canucks never stood up for him. They never went out there and picked fights after. Yeah. It's an interesting thing that happens here. Traditionally, yes, sure, you're going to go out there and you're going to fight for your buddy, and then you're going to get the penalty for it. Now, whether you get a penalty for instigating or whether you get a penalty for 2 minutes for roughing, 5 for fighting, or whatever it is, you end up getting shorthanded. So the problem with that kind of reaction is it does tend to leave your team shorthanded, and it can actually have a reverse effect. There were times last year where I saw fans saying, oh, that was a great game tonight, we really stood up for ourselves, and then I was pointing out, but you lost. So the important thing I thought here was that Vancouver kept its composure and won the game. And they didn't let that hit take them away from their game and cause them to go out there. And they have guys who can do that. Roussel can go out there and start running guys. I don't see Beagle that way. I don't. I think Virtanen has some of that in him too. But I think, if anything, this shows good coaching behind the Canucks bench. It's like, all right, guys, that happened. It's a crappy hit. It's a BS that there was no call, that Matheson's still in the game. But you know what? We're gonna get through this, and we're gonna beat them where it counts on the scoreboard. And they did. And, you know, my concern isn't for, you know, who's going to go punch that Matheson guy in the head. My concern is how hurt is Pettersson, and nothing that you do to Matheson stops Pettersson from being hurt. The only thing that's going to help in this situation is going to be the NHL coming out and and bringing in a suspension. Now, I look at it as 5 games because you look at the Max Domi sucker punch that was worth a preseason. I would put this probably ahead of that, just in terms of its violence and because it's regular season. It's not really a rivalry, and you can't. I would love to hear the defense of this to the league from Matheson of, well, I was just making a hockey play, because there are people who think it's a hockey play too. There are people who are going to argue on this video. It's just a good hockey play. That's just a good hit. If the kid can't take it, he shouldn't be in the league. As I said with the Wilson and all the other stuff, if that's the way that you view it, then there's nothing I can say to sway it, and that's fine. Everybody has different opinions on this stuff, and that's fine. But I do think it warrants a suspension. I'm glad the Canucks didn't go out and goon it up for the rest of the game, and that they showed that they were the better team on the ice. They won the game 3-2, and they got that win when Pettersson wasn't in the lineup. Pettersson had a nice goal last night. Hopefully he's not out for very long. I know concussion protocol is important because I've preached it on this channel for 2.5 years. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to say, oh, because it's a guy off my team, I don't need to get back soon. Nope, he has to be back when he's ready. But the other thing that I find funny is that I see people saying, well, you know, the Sedins were ran their entire careers and the Canucks never stood up for them. Sedins both played about 1,100 games in their career. It's not like they were injured constantly either. The Sedins were big boys that took it and still managed to score over 1,000 points. And you know, they had nice long careers. Actually, they played more than 1,100 games. I'm just thinking it's almost 1,100 points for Henrik. Anyways, they played a lot of games for guys who were pushed around and beat up, and they were pushed around, absolutely. And they came through it, and they both managed to win a scoring title. They were both pretty good players. So yes, the lack of pushback from the Canucks is nothing new, but this, I guess I don't get the whole mentality of you guys have got to go out there and fight after. I do hope Pettersson comes back sooner rather than later, because the Canucks desperately need him in the lineup, and that Matheson's properly dealt with by the league. I would imagine we'll be looking at, as I said, I see it as probably five games, maybe. But it depends on how violent the NHL sees it. And does the NHL look at it and say, yeah, that's kind of a hockey play. 1 game. You know, that's reasonable that, you know, a rookie goes around you and you feel kind of like you got embarrassed, that you pick him up and slam him to the ice. I don't 100% get behind that at all. I think if a guy shows you up, again, the best way to answer is by scoring goals and winning the game. I don't think gooning it up helps. But there's already been, you know, Coach Green of the Canucks after threw some thinly veiled threats out there. So now Florida's in for a punch-up with Montreal when they meet them, and Florida may be in for a punch-up the next time they meet Vancouver. Florida, you know, may have some punch-ups ahead of them. But again, the NHL's going to get out ahead of all those things and make sure that teams aren't playing that kind of game. So let me know your thoughts. How many games? Or do you not think it's a suspension at all? It's just a good hit. If it wasn't Pettersson, we're not talking about it. If it's Jay Beagle taking that hit, we're not talking about it. Let me know your thoughts, as always, in the comment section below. Do not forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.